every disease has an emotional component to it. It's not just physical, it's spiritual, emotional, physical, energetic, biochemical, all these levels. And so we must address all levels of the human frame if we want to create order, homeostasis, and health in a patient.
Here's what nobody tells you about cancer. The cancer can grow in your body 8 to 10 years before you even see a tumor. And most doctors are trained to wait for symptoms. You feel a lump, you have pain, you start bleeding, and then they act. But by then, you've lost almost a decade of prevention. And unfortunately, that is just how the system works. But you want to know the real kicker. Less than 1% of cancers are actually genetic. The rest are completely preventable. But the thing is, medical school doesn't teach prevention protocols. It teaches disease management after you are already sick. Dr. Connealy, our guest today, runs one of the biggest integrative cancer centers in America, and she's about to blow your mind. She talks about the blood test that can catch cancer even before it becomes cancer, why your emotions are literally creating disease in the body, and the protocol she uses to reverse what conventional medicine calls incurable. I don't care if you're 25 or you're 85, cancer can affect you. Cancer rates are exploding, especially in young people. This isn't some feel-good wellness chat. This is about truly living a healthy life with information that can save you or someone you love. Is there something that we don't know about cancer that people need to hear right now?
The truth is that cancer is 100% preventable. I don't want to say 100%, but completely preventable, all right? And it is not genetics. It's not bad luck. It's not necessarily that you're doing something wrong, because what I hear most of the time is that doctors tell patients that, well, this is just bad luck. Because genetics, a lot of times people think, oh, well, my mom had it and my dad had this, and so I'm going to have it. But genetics is probably less than, 1% really of cancers, very small bit of cancers.
Small bit.
Small.
Okay. Why do some people heal from cancer, though, and others don't?
This is a great question. Why do some people heal? I personally believe that people heal because they think they will heal.
There's a psychosomatic component.
Yes.
And that's what you've seen in your clinic?
Yes.
Wow.
And I believe the people that will submit and surrender to radical healing, they get better.
What would happen if doctors focused on teaching people prevention? What would happen to cancer in the span of 5 years?
Well, if we would teach health and create health, we would not see the diseases that we see today.
Really? Most of the chronic diseases?
Because they did a study of 44,000 identical twins. What was the single greatest determinant whether they were going to get cancer? What they ate and their lifestyle.
And they saw.
And the medical profession does not focus on what people eat and their 24-hour day.
My mom died of cancer in 2011, breast cancer. That's what drove me to come into oncology. Yeah. So it basically went going in the oncology world, learning about nutrition around it, learning about all of the integrative workings, the inner workings. Then I started getting really into environmental exposures, right? Because that's a huge thing that you put in your book. I opened it, actually, it was one of the first things I opened it to. You were talking about pollutants. And then I went into the psychosomatic work, which that's the phase that I've been in. For how long? 6 years.
Wow.
And it really has been really powerful. And to me, it's the mechanism of the nervous system and
correct,
informing the immune system and inflammation and everything else, hormones. So you run one of the largest integrative, holistic oncology centers in the U.S.
Right.
Where is it located?
It's in Irvine, California.
And how long have you been doing it?
Integrative oncology, probably 15, 17 years. I actually started out, though, in prevention approximately 26 years ago, 27 years ago, because my personal history is my mother was administered DES, and that was a drug that was given to women to prevent miscarriage and stop bleeding. And then they found that drug caused complications. And so I thought, okay, I need to know everything about prevention. And I met this gentleman called Bill Curry, who had a sarcoma, which is a tumor of muscle and bone. And he told me his whole life story. He was diagnosed at 22, and they were going to amputate his leg. And he says, no, I'm going to go figure this out. So he spends the next 11 years on a discovery odyssey figuring everything about cancer. So I said, I need to learn everything this guy knows.
Yeah.
So that's how I learned about coffee enemas and mitochondria and toxicity, emotional well-being, etc. And then that springboarded me to really where I am today. So,
And the Cancer Revolution book is sort of connected to your own healing journey.
oh, absolutely. Yes,
Right.
because it really catapulted me to be mindful and aware of not getting cancer.
Yeah. Your work is a lot around also hormones. Your own struggle with hormones and history of that, and actually bringing and helping bring fertility to other people who are
Right.
really struggling. The hormonal issues are driven by so many things. Do you think in your career they've gotten worse? People are suffering more with more infertility, more hormonal disruption. Has our hormonal status as a society just worsened?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
So first of all, people need to understand hormones. Hormones are chemical messengers. You and I have the same hormones, just different amounts.
Yeah.
Okay? Hormones turn on and off cellular function. They're absolutely essential to your life and well-being. In fact, if you do not have your thyroid hormones, you won't be alive. If you didn't have your adrenal glands, you literally won't be alive. But now we're living in the great poisoning. And the great poisoning is we have pollution, we have heavy metals, we have just an inordinate amount of interference, electromagnetic fields.
Yeah.
So we're living in a chemical cage, a wireless cage all around us. And we have no concept of really the true impact on our body because no one's done that experiment and we are the experiment.
Yeah. Especially with the electromagnetic frequencies we know so little about.
Well, we know a lot about it, but we are not paying attention to what the science is saying. You know, we kind of addicted to probably the cell phone and technology and what technology can do for us, but we also have to know the balancing act that we need to do if we're going to use technology. And so it's something for me because I didn't grow up. You grew up
Yeah.
with electromagnetic fields and computers. I didn't, so I had that opportunity of living like that. And not, that's why they've taken cell phones out of schools because kids can't think because their brain's hijacked. It's addiction, etc. You know,
That's huge.
it's huge. And so, and then if you think about how people eat, people have nutritionally deficient diets. So if you don't have proper nutrients for your cells to function, how are you going to make hormones?
Yeah.
All right. So, you know, Rachel Carson, I don't know if you know the book Silent Spring. Well, that's a great book you should read. And everyone should read it because we learn from history. So she wrote about this and talked about the effect of environmental chemicals in 1960. Okay. And she warned everybody that she was seeing things in nature and that we need to now be very aware of these chemicals and toxins. And so now you talked about fertility. Well, for female and male fertility, it's dropped significantly now. So these are all very important signs. And it's not just one thing. Like everybody's saying, like there's that one thing. There's never just one thing that creates a problem or a disease. It's all of the factors and then the synergistic potential of all the mishaps.
I bring up hormones because hormones play such a role into cancer, especially things like breast cancer, prostate cancer, ovarian cancer. And my mom died of breast cancer. And I've seen a lot of women with breast cancer. and I've run hormone tests, and their hormones are all over the place. What I'm thinking to myself, there's the way that cancer is done in the United States, and then there's the way that something like in your clinic it's done. The conventional approach to cancer, what is it missing? What is it missing? And what have you implemented in your clinic that you know has been helping that missing piece?
Right. So the conventional treatment for cancer is surgery, chemo, radiation, immunotherapy, or some smart drug that affects a molecular target. So that is supposedly one magic bullet that's going to fix your cancer. Well, that's 1/100th of the picture. First of all, if you want to understand what's going on, you've got to sit down and talk to the patient. The patient has all the answers. That's why my first visit with the patient is 2 hours, because I go back from the time of inception and I literally see how they live each and every day. Like, what was your health like from birth to 10 years, 10 to 20, and whatever years they are? How do you sleep? Water, eating, dental, movement. And then the big question is stress. What's been your stress for the past 8 to 10 years? And I find that I can correlate most of their big bang diagnosis is just chronic unresolved stress.
They're in the survival state?
Right.
And it's just ongoing. They've got stuck in it.
Right. They've gotten stuck in it, and they have to get through life. So they just go through life without saying, okay, let me listen to this. I have, every day you have bad thoughts, right? Every day you have good thoughts. Let's focus on having the good thoughts. It's impossible to just have good thoughts all the time. Okay. Then you just be a robot. But you're going to feel bad things. You're going to feel sad. You're going to feel grief. You lose a dog, you lose a child, you lose whatever. You're going to feel those feelings. Allow yourself to feel. But I always tell every patient, you can transform everything bad into good. And that becomes your superpower, believe it or not. It's like people who have disabilities. Their disabilities become their powerful strength.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So it becomes their huge advantage in life, okay? Because you've had to overcome. And so I think, so when you go to a regular doctor, it's, okay, imaging shows this, we need to do the biopsy. The biopsy shows this. This is an algorithm. If you're, for example, breast cancer, you're ER positive. Okay, so we need to give you an estrogen blocker, and it depends on how old they are, because you'll get something, maybe a shot to shut down the estrogen. With this person, you maybe get a pill to shut down the estrogen. Most of the patients get radiation, and then like, how do you follow them? Very little follow-up. Well, we wait until you have pain. What? You wait until someone gets worse? That's not how you follow patients, okay? So we do comprehensive blood work. So like, you can't just do a chemistry and a CBC. That's what an oncologist does. We need to do, like you said, we need to look at your hormones, right? Like, for example, if you're low thyroid, you're higher risk for cancer, okay? If your adrenals are low, your DHEA sulfate, that's also an indicator of your stress immunolongevity. So that's going to predispose you. Plus, you won't have the energy you need to get through this cancer, right? And then we do inflammatory molecules, right? Then we check vitamin levels and mineral levels, and we check heavy metals, and we check, in a vast amount of information very quickly that can tell us right away things we need to fix. We need to check hemoglobin A1C. 95% of the population has a metabolic disorder, right? And then we do an environmental toxin test. We do methylation testing to see how you are processing your DNA. So those are things that we check on everyone. Then we use liquid biopsies to look for circulating tumor cells. A conventional blood test is called Signatera. Signatera looks for circulating tumor DNA. That is in the conventional world, but they're not even doing it yet. It takes about 17 years once something comes out. It takes about 17 years to get in operation in the medical doctor's office. And then the biggest thing is once we get all your blood tests, our treatment recommendations will be very different, okay? I always address sleep because sleep is the elixir of life. If you're not sleeping, there goes everything. Immune system, repair, regeneration, you know that, right? And then I, a lot of times, do a lot of purification with the patient. Now, if they're going to be doing chemotherapy, I don't put them on a cleanse because it's just too much. I do the cleanse after the chemotherapy, but I will give them things to be cleansing while they get chemotherapy, correct? So I would say you can either do infrared sauna or a detox bath because not everybody can have an infrared sauna. And then I will give them zeolite to detox on a regular basis. I give them immune enhancement, whether it's vitamin C or mistletoe, turkey tail, all kinds of things, because you got to take care of your immune system. Because when you receive chemotherapy, there isn't a system in the body that's not going to be compromised. So you've got to support the body so that they can get through the chemotherapy. Now, in our clinic, we do low-dose chemotherapy. So we do a 10% following the NCCN guidelines, which is what all doctors around who are practicing oncologists, they prescribe. But we do 10% with insulin because cancer cells like insulin-like growth factors. They have on the membranes of their cells. So we give you the insulin. We bring your blood sugar to what we call the therapeutic moment, which is about 40. And then we give the chemotherapy at 10% dose. We also add hyperthermia because your body has 3 heat shock proteins, 27, 72, and 90, to activate cancer killing also. And then after that, I will give an IV of curcumin activated by light. And then I'll put them in the red light bed to make sure their mitochondria take in all of the things that we just gave them.
Wow. Okay.
Then the next day, we give you a special IV to clean out your liver, not with medicine, but with phosphatidylcholine and homeopathics. Okay. And then we have them do energy treatments, like we do a lot of frequency medicine because every one of your cells emanates 0.07 volts of energy. Your membrane, right? Your magical membrane is -7 millivolts of energy. And so you have to have energy to heal. You have to have energy so the cells can take care of you. And every day, all of us are being robbed of energy. Every day, okay? Whether it's electromagnetic fields, whether it's heavy metals, whether it's oxygenation, because cancer is acidity in the body, all right? And then when you're acidic, there goes your voltage, there goes your oxygen. So what is the number one thing that you need? Oxygen. Okay, if we don't have oxygen, we're dead slowly in the cancer process or quickly in the,
Suffocating.
we're suffocating, right? So we have to pay attention to the oxygenation. So I do hyperbaric, or I do IV ozone, or I do EBU. I do sodium bicarb drips because that's a form of oxygenation along with neutralizing fungus, because there is the fungal theory of cancer now. So there's been the metabolic, the mitochondrial, and the fungal theory of cancer recently. Now, that is not a new notion, but a gentleman, Mark Lintern, wrote a book very similar to mine called Cancer Resolution. Mine is a revolution and his is resolution. He had cancer himself. So, of course, when you have a problem, you go down the rabbit hole and start learning how to unravel the cancer. At least that's what we all should be doing. Our job here is to discover the miracle of the universe, right? And so problems tend to make you focus on that. And that's why problems are good, because problems force you to discover. Like if you're drinking Mai Tais on the beach, like there's no discovery happening, right?
Yeah.
So through problems come solutions and answers, right? So our treatment protocols are very different. one of the most important things that we do is we do something called EVOX. Vox is the Latin word for voice. And so you have your hand on a thing that looks like a mouse with a hand on it. And you just start talking. Hi, I'm Christian, and I'm a naturopathic doctor, and I live in Phoenix, whatever you say. And your brain, using EEG, is programmed onto the computer, and it shows the practitioner the unfavorable emotional conflict that needs to be resolved. And so we use music and affirmations to resolve that emotional conflict, and that happens right away.
Incredible.
Yes, it's equivalent to 3 or 4 sessions. Now, I think that emotional attunement is an ongoing process, right? Mm-hmm. And when you get diagnosed with anything, the top 3 killers are medications, heart disease, and cancer, medications and medical errors. And so every disease has an emotional component to it, right? It's not just physical, it's spiritual, emotional, physical, energetic, right? Biochemical, or all these levels. And so we must address all levels of the human frame if we want to create order, homeostasis, and health in a patient.
Even in cancer.
Even in cancer.
Especially in cancer.
Well, especially in cancer, because cancer is very complex. And the biggest thing that is, it's a very fearful path.
Yeah.
Okay. And even patients who are early stage 1, they immediately get that diagnosis, and then they react out of fear instead of take a moment of silence, start educating yourself on everything, conventional and integrative, updated oncology protocols, because there's 1.2 million PubMed articles on PubMed. So there's so much information out there that you can learn. Get a team of people who love you, care about you, can support you, be advocate for you, and get an order to your plan. And if someone tells you just take this medicine, one medicine does not solve your problems. If you have high blood pressure, and I go, oh, okay, it's Christian here, take this blood pressure. I'll see you in a week. Let's see if it works. And they don't address your sleep, water, food, teeth, movement, and stress. You might be just stressed. Maybe you're just not sleeping.
Yeah. Maybe it's poor sleep.
Okay. Poor sleep alone will cause high blood pressure. Okay.
Yeah.
Poor sleep alone will cause every disease, right? Or contribute to the disease picture or disease picture. So we really have to take a deep dive and take the time. You have to take time in the beginning and then create an orderly path for the patient. Now, most of the time, these recommendations are very overwhelming, right? That's why I wrote the book, so that the book puts everything in order and patients can reread the book. Because if I start telling you about toxins, and I'm going to tell you, Christian, you got to change your water system, you got to change your plastics, you got to do this. It's too much. So I tell people, give yourself a year, give yourself grace. That slowly you're going to change your bed, you're going to change the EMF consciousness, as you know, everything, correct? So give yourself time. You didn't get here in a day, you're not going to get out in a day. People always think that, you're just going to do this and do the surgery and you're going to do the chemo and then you're done. Well, no, first of all, there is no finish line to health. It's an ongoing process, and it takes true dedication and commitment to your radical healing.
When those nights when you can't just turn your mind off and you're desperately looking for a way to unwind, and some people even use alcohol just to get to bed, and you ain't getting a deep sleep with it. But I found something that's been a total game changer for me. I've been using these THC gummies from Cornbread Hemp for quite a while now, and honestly, they really can transform the way you relax before bed. And for me, I'm on the go, I got a lot going on, and my body can get really wound up during the day. And if I don't disperse that energy, then I'm going to stay up. I'm going to be wound tight. This really helps take off that edge, and I can lay in bed and just relax and go to sleep. So whether it's after a long day of recording here on the podcast, or I just want to chill with friends and just take it down a notch. These gummies really help me find a perfect balance. What makes cornbread hemp really special is they are America's only USDA organic THC gummy. We are talking real THC with organic ingredients, none of that synthetic stuff. I'm gonna tell you the best part. They're 100% legal and shipped directly to your door. All of their products are third-party tested for safety and purity, and you know that's what we love here at Heal Thyself. My two favorite flavors, Blueberry Breeze and Blood Orange Bliss. They're both absolutely fantastic. Right now, Heal Thyself listener, you can save 30% on your first order. Just go to cornbreadhemp.com/DRG and use the code DRG at checkout. That is cornbreadhemp.com/DRG. The code is DRG. Cornbread hemp is for a good life. And that can happen over time. It doesn't have to just be that, like we think in cancer care, go right now. The people who are the families, the patient, it's got to be right now or it's going to kill me, because that's what it is. It's like a race against time for many people.
Right.
And you mentioned a lot of things that are really piquing my interest right now. Just generally speaking, and you've seen so many cancer patients. If we took the whole of all the cancer patients and all of the causes that are driving it, what percentage do you think that emotional plays for cancer?
I don't know if I could give you a percentage, but I would say it's a significant driving force. Okay. It's like, so for example, I said genetics, like if you talk to Bruce Lipton, the biology of belief, he says, because I had him in our conversation, and he said, it's less than 1%, right? The science says about 5%, but they do those genetic testing right now on everybody. I started doing them years ago. And I'm like, well, I've hardly ever seen anybody positive, right?
Yeah.
And in fact, if you take BRCA patients, 50% don't get cancer. So, and they have a genetic predisposition, correct?
So like Angelina Jolie.
Yes.
Right? So she had the prophylactic mastectomy.
And her ovaries.
And her ovaries she got too? Okay. And she had the BRCA gene, and it would be most likely that she wouldn't have had the cancer anyway?
Well, right. Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. So why are we removing all these body parts, which is an injurious, inflammatory, immunosuppressive process? And then what makes you think that you're not going to get cancer somewhere else in another organ?
Right.
Because everything is about the garden and the terrain that the cancer came in. Your entire 50 trillion cells live in this cooperative harmonious orchestra. So removing parts is not because it's like the blind man and the elephant. Okay, right? And one feels the tusk, one feels the leg, one feels the butt. I mean, like everyone's going to have a different POV, right? So taking, one thing out of it, you have to look at this, your body as this human miraculous corporation of cells working constantly to take care of you.
Together in harmony, like you said. It's really beautiful when you say harmony, because I think the macroscopic, like us as human beings, mirrors the microscopic, and we're in a lot of disharmony in our macroscopic with ourselves and each other, and it's mirrored by ourselves. This is why I think the POV of the emotional aspect, who am I in relationship to myself and others, I think that drives a lot of what's happening on the inside, or it's mirrored what's happening on the inside. So there's work to be done, right? Do you feel joy in your life? Do you feel connected to people? Is your nervous system actually safe, that like you can digest your food and sleep and feel good around people and actually want to connect? These are huge emotional parameters that any disease, even cancer, any disease is just like such an important piece. And it's so beautiful that you're doing that work, because when you described your clinic, all I heard was holistic in every single way. Metabolic, organ systems, prevention, low dose. Oh yeah, by the way, we're taking care of the energetic stuff too, the emotional. And that's how something like cancer should be addressed, because it's so multifactorial. There's so many pieces. And that's just the physical side, and then the emotional side.
Right.
The spiritual side, that's other pieces too. Is there any particular case that comes into mind where it was such a special case because you knew that this person in their mind believed, I'm going to heal. I'm not going to take any other story as truth. I'm going to dedicate myself to Dr. Connealy's protocols, and actually healed from a pretty advanced cancer.
I have a lot of those patients.
A lot of those?
Because I believe like this is what I do have some disaster cases, I mean, they come to me so late, but there are people, I mean, I always tell patients, think about spontaneous healing, and then think about radical remissions. Go read those. Just bury yourself in that and become that, right? You know those. And so, but the problem is some of the cases are they're just so far gone, because if you get diagnosed, that's when you come and see me. Not 3 or 4 years later after you've been damaged by invasive procedures and this chemo without protection and this radiation and this, I mean, our conveyor belt of health is not creating health. Okay. Like literally mostly everything that we're doing can have potential downside, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So like getting a PET scan. Okay. So like I protect you if you get a biopsy, here's your protocol. Now, if you're going to have surgery, here's your protocol. If you're going to have a PET scan, here's your protective protocol. So I have a protective protocol for every single thing. Okay. Because that is my job.
Yeah.
Right? That is my job. By the way, if I have to give you these antibiotics because you have cellulitis on your leg, here are the antibiotics. Now, why do you have the cellulitis? And because you have to take these antibiotics, here's what you've got to do to recover your microbiome.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Just taking antibiotics. And we're throwing antibiotics at people every single day. And we're not thinking of the consequences. It's like we do C-sections every day and not thinking about the microbiome of that baby that missed. Right? Just that little thing. You're already coming out disadvantaged, but why aren't we telling the mother what to do?
Yeah, absolutely.
Correct? Because sometimes there's going to be a need for a C-section. I know I've had an emergency C-section with twins. So one vaginally and one emergency C-section. But I always think like, I mean, I know there was a difference, right? There is a difference because you don't inherit the microbiome of the mother.
Yeah.
So we should be protecting, the Hippocratic Oath is first, do no harm, right? But we should always think about, for example, you're doing your podcast. Why are you doing your podcast? You're doing it to educate and empower people. You're thinking about the end person listening to your podcast, whether what I'm doing or whether you're saying. And what I've seen is, you were talking about my patients. We are all directly and indirectly connected. In a patient relationship, I am very directly connected. And I believe that a lot of healing is what I'm saying. My relationship, my authentic connection and relationship with the patient, the power of words that I say with the patients, the influence I have on how that patient heals, because that's what consciousness is. All right. And then the way we care for patients in our office is so beautiful. And it's to enhance, because when I get a patient that's really sick, I'm like, I'm going to make today great for you. And I believe that, not because I'm just not the only one in my office, we have this amazing team, and they all have their genius. Yeah. That they are taking care of the patient. And it's the collective consciousness of our geniuses together elevating the vibration and frequency of that patient. Right? And so I feel like that's the difference. Right? Because if your group of friends are all for Christian, what's that going to do to you?
Going to rise up.
It's going to rise up. It's going to raise the voltage of all of your cells.
You have to.
Right.
Yes, and absolutely. And we respond to that field around us.
Yes.
We do, and our cells respond.
Yes, because all your friends they're part of your energy field.
I remember, and I was just thinking about this a few podcasts ago, is these Japanese doctors praying and chanting and doing mantras over this cancer patient, and the cancer patient went into remission. It's incredible. It was just like, we don't understand energetics. We definitely don't learn it in med school.
No.
But maybe one day, 200 years from now, that'll be one of the first things that they learn in school. How important energy plays a role, not only the mental, emotional, but like how we relate to each other, people bringing us up. Because, it's really hard to heal when we go back home and we have an abusive husband or abusive wife or a job that is just sucking us dry. Those conditions matter too.
Right.
know?
And think about it. These patients go through a lot of PTSD just having their diagnosis, okay? Especially if you were diagnosed 5 years ago or 10 years ago and you're still dealing with it.
Yeah.
You have the diagnosis, then you have the PTSD of the diagnosis, right? But you're right. That's why you have to understand the entire dynamics of the family, right? Like, I'll give you a classic example. I had a young nurse come in yesterday. And so I asked her, she's only 32, diagnosed with cancer 3 years ago. So she was 29 when she was diagnosed. So I went through her whole health history. And then when I got to her stress, she goes, well, I was the major caretaker for my mother who died from colon cancer. My brother committed suicide. I do not have a good relationship with my father. My brother is a recovering alcoholic and then something else. Okay. And so
there's a story there.
There's a story there,
There's
right?
a story. Yeah.
And so that was, and she's only she was 29 when she was diagnosed, so she hasn't even lived that long to have, lots of medical problems like high blood pressure, the comorbidities, high blood pressure and high sugar, et cetera. And so there was a lot to unpack there, right? And so, of course, that's why I think that emotional work is mandatory. So now we've added it not only to all the cancer patients, that's been always there, okay?
Yeah.
But now our executive integrative physical includes EVOX.
Amazing.
Okay? Because you aren't just, like you were saying, we're not just a physical being. We are spiritual, emotional, et cetera, et cetera. So we have to address the entire system of the body in order to heal. And everybody thinks healing is like fast. No, healing is a process, not an event.
Yeah.
And we need to enjoy the process and then try to create healing every day. We, in our society today, health is not a value. We just think you're going to wake up and work. Your body's going to work for you, right? Until it doesn't work, right? Instead, we need to start from the time the mother wants to get pregnant. And that was my last newsletter, was about how to prepare to have a baby.
Yeah.
Because the receptacle of the baby needs to be very beautiful, correct? And then the intention of that baby, correct? And then the whole environment of that child needs to be, we need to be mindful of today, right? So if we started early about being mindful of true health, the world would be a lot different. For example, you mentioned Japanese. The obesity rate in Japan is less than 4% for children, where here it's like 50%.
Yeah.
Because they are teaching their kids how to eat differently than we are.
It's really something out here. I'm seeing a lot of videos, and I haven't been researching oncology because I haven't been in clinic. I'm just hearing so much about the azoles, Fenbendazole. Is this around the theory of fungus leading cause of cancer, or parasites as cancer? What's happening here? Why is that an alternative drug that people are going crazy over and looking for now?
All right. Well, there's about 300. I talk about that in my book too.
You do? Okay, cool.
Yeah, so there's about 380 medications that have potential to start one or more steps of cancer. And you mentioned the Zole group, Fenbendazole, albendazole, mebendazole, metronidazole, okay? And the other big one you heard of probably is Ivermectin.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Okay, which definitely blocks 12 different facets of cancer, okay? And the Zole group definitely interferes with the tubules of cancer. So we have been prescribing repurposed drugs for cancer for probably 8 years now, all right? But again, that is just one piece of the puzzle. And so I think there's a place. There are drugs that are very, very safe because all the drugs that have an effect are old drugs, okay?
Yeah.
So, but again, you'd have to protect your liver if you're going to take these medicines. So anyone listening out there, if you are taking these medications, you should always be taking liver protection for these drugs because everything goes through our liver, as you know. And so there is a place for them, and I utilize them in usually like not a stage 1, because I feel like stage 1, I can totally turn that around very quickly by cleaning them up. Now, you talked about fungus. A lot of these drugs can have antifungal potential, but there are other ways of, there's other medicines, like if you look at ketoconazole, itraconazole, nystatin, and then I try to utilize natural things first because, again, those medications can have liver impact and renal impact, etc. But again, that's just one of the 100 things that need to be addressed or given. And so I do think they have their place, but it's not like, I think the gentleman, I think he was from Oklahoma who had lung cancer, and he tried a combination of medications and got well. Well, that's not, that's not everybody, okay? Right. Every individual is an original. So what may work on one person doesn't work on the next person, because people will frequently say, oh, well, my friend is taking this, and this. Is that okay? There are some commonalities, like vitamin C. Everyone should be taking vitamin C. Yeah. Linus Pauling did the work. It's the antidote to many things. Yeah. But there's not like there's one prescription for everybody. But again, people I think have sound like this is it, and this is going to be the cure-all. No, you need to go to a doctor who can properly prescribe, properly give you liver protection, properly assess your body in every single way, addressing your toxicity, your stress, your deficiencies, heavy metals, electromagnetic, everything. So
the full picture.
Yeah, the full, comprehensive. We are very complex beings. So.
I love that you're able to say, okay, it's great for some, not all. It doesn't work for everyone. Because I've seen videos and heard these testimonials that it does work for these people, but then others it doesn't.
Everybody is very different. Some of my patients are very strict vegetarians. So I create the program with them so that they don't have deficiencies.
That's right.
That is the key, is do you have deficiencies in the eating program you're eating? Because what we think is good for us may not be good for you. I remember years ago, I had a patient who was strict. She was doing herbs and tinctures and incredible vegetarian. And I did her NutriValve, which it's a lab by Genova. And I was like, oh my God, she has every problem there is. So I was like, here's a classic example of a young person with cancer who has massive deficiencies on a very enriched program. And so, for example, I had a 20-year-old who came in to see me, has a lot of autoimmune from a vaccine injury, and he had probably 50 allergies. Well, he doesn't have 50 allergies. He just has a very bad gut, okay? And so we have to think about the integrity of our gut. 80% of your immune system's in your microbiome.
Yeah. So it plays such a role when it comes to cancer prevention,
cancer treatment, because think about it. the treatments itself are damaging to the microbiome. Look what chemotherapy does to the microbiome.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Everyone has some sort of GI issue when they
Everyone. And then these new drugs, the immunotherapy, Keytruda and Opdivo, their biggest side effect is diarrhea.
I know we are closing out soon. I want to ask you really quick before we do. You mentioned the liquid biopsies, and it's something that people should be getting. What's a liquid biopsy? What does it show, and why is it important?
Well, first of all, I don't just rely on just a liquid biopsy, just so you know, because, for example, when we do the comprehensive blood test and I look at inflammation, that's not good, right? So inflammation is the precursor to all diseases. But the liquid biopsies that I use right now is Oncodeclare by RGCC is a liquid biopsy that will tell me that there's most likely cancer is happening. Now, there's a other blood test called Oncotrace, which will tell me what cancer it's mostly related to, like is it melanoma, prostate, breast, kidney, etc., right? So those are very, probably about a 90% efficacy, all right? Then the other test, so it is a good thing, but again, I always tell people, you still do imaging, right? You still look at the big. And then one of the testing that I do is I do a bioenergetic analysis. So you have acupuncture points all over your body, and we take the top 50 points on your hands and feet, and every point is like a wire or a string of pearls to your organs and glands. And we look at the flow of energy, or qi in Chinese medicine, flowing through. So what's blocking it, and then what's going to fix it. And then I do something called the cancer cascade, which is the timeline for cancer. So from one cancer cell to tumor is about 8 to 10 years. So I look at the environment, because cancer is an environment of acidity, toxicity, bugs, viruses, bacteria, fungi, and parasites, immune suppression, angiogenesis, which is blood supply. So if I see that you've got things going on like that, then I know there is an arena for cancer. There is an environment for cancer.
And that's what it's all about, looking at the environment.
Right. Looking at the environment, because let's say, for example, you come in and you have never had anything and you're just coming for prevention. The liquid biopsy may be negative because you've never had any invasion to your body, right? Now, cells can break off of a cancer too, but a lot of times once that patient has a biopsy, it literally, releases the cells, unfortunately.
During the biopsy.
Okay? You have seeding. But now this new test, Oncodeclare, looks at DNA aberrations. Okay? So we have much better tests. In fact, just last night I received an email about another test that's a liquid biopsy. So it's a very fast-growing field.
Amazing.
And we should be focusing on prevention, because prevention is the cure.
What a great way to end it. Please tell us your book, where your clinic is, anything else we need to know about.
Right. Well, this is my updated book, Cancer Revolution. And I updated this because, as we know, science is constantly evolving and changing. Follow me on Instagram, where Dr. Christian also follows us. And Connealy, MD, also is the handle for that. And then I write a newsletter that, for example, I just talked about the last time I talked about pregnancy and how to optimize your body to have a baby. And so people can sign up for that. Also, we do Perfectly Healthy once a month. We have a Perfectly Healthy conversation. You can ask questions. We always highlight a topic. We have phenomenal discussions on the latest, greatest in the news.
Amen. I love it. Everyone go follow Dr. Connealy. Doc, thank you for coming on the show. The passion that you have for something that is near and dear to me. But really, I know how lost people can feel when they get diagnosed. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen it in my own family. And I know the weight of not having answers and fear of wondering what's going to happen. But to have a safety net of someone who's doing it integratively, truly integratively, not integrative clinic and does half it, but truly is just such a breath of fresh air to know that you're there. Knock on wood, hopefully I stay healthy forever, but if I don't, I know where I'm going.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you, Doc.